Welcome to Udan AI for India. I'm Richa, and today I'm joined by Anant Agarwal. He is a principal applied scientist for Gen AI at True Foundry. He has also led AI teams at Nissan before joining True Foundry, trained professionals at Geo Institute, and built bridges between enterprise, academia, and next generation of intelligence systems. So, Anant, welcome. So good to have you with us.
Very happy to be here.
Yeah. So earlier this year, Niti Aayog BCG Future of Working report set the tone for India's AI debate. It showed that out of 8 million tech jobs today, nearly 1.5 million roles are at risk because AI can deliver 30 to 40% productivity gains. Yet the same report says India can still add 3.5 to 4 million new jobs by 2030. So with far fewer GPUs and limited compute, can India still win this AI race? And what does that really take?
That's a great question, Richa. So, what this demonstrates is that, at least for India, AI is a story of transition, as net AI is going to create jobs, and we need to be able to navigate this transition really well. So, in general, if you think about the AI stack, we start with the lowest level semiconductors, which is like NVIDIA, AMD, Intel. Then we think about cloud or hyperscalers. And then we have the AI foundation model companies on the top. So, all of these are technology layers, but what we miss typically is the application layer, which typically sits on top of the technology layer and which fundamentally has to be more lucrative than these technology layers if it has to give back to these technology layers to actually thrive. Right? So it has to be more valuable in general. And that's the bet that the application layer will really take off. And this is where India has a very big opportunity because with a billion plus population, there is a huge amount of data that's generated. There is a very large amount of young talent, which is ambitious and which is already doing a lot in the startup and entrepreneurial space. And application in India is not just something good to do, it's a necessity to ensure efficiency is driven across the country. So even with limited compute to navigate that issue, the Indian government is pushing for more common compute capacity. And recently we have reached 34,000 plus GPUs at a common capacity scale, which is also subsidized. So this is one part of the story, which is AI within India. But even at a global scale, India is becoming a centerpiece for global innovation through global capability centers opening every now and then. And this is across all AI verticals. So it's not restricted to, let's say, healthcare or education. It's across many AI verticals that India is really taking a center spot now.
So, in that sense, do you think India's strength will come from building domain specific applications rather than competing in core model development?
Definitely. Yes, that's true.
Fantastic. So, now I will go to the next question. At the India Today conclave, Rajiv Gupta from BCG said the era of the generalist is ending and the next decade belongs to hyper specialist. Do you agree with that shift and what does it mean?
If you think about AI, it's basically a knowledge amplifier and synthesizer of knowledge. So the person who was very good at five different things, none of them at a very deep level will become very susceptible to displacement because of this capability of AI to be a knowledge amplifier and synthesizer. And what will be the new competitive moat is deep knowledge within a domain. So the roles will shift. The role of human expertise would be to judge, verify, critique, and direct the AI's output instead of actually going through doing that set of activities. And even if you look at the broader level industry, the focus is shifting a lot towards AI fluency. Even in corporates, that's becoming an yearly goal for employees. That how many tools are you using? How are you embedding AI in your workflows? And really, corporates are actually trying to make AI work for their employees, even through internal AI programs, so that they're keeping up with this wave, because this is going to be the overall competitive edge for employees in general and even for external services and products that the companies offer. So in general, the entire industry is going towards AI fluency. And even from my personal experience, I have trained a few corporates in the consulting space, specifically not for profit. And speaking to the consultant teams, it's becoming clear that AI is a co-creator of knowledge. of the reports rather than replacing humans. So the specialism is basically shifting towards more of the judging and critiquing rather than actually doing the core research work and the core landscaping.
That's a great insight. So, as deep domain expertise become the new mode, which specific verticals or areas do you think will see the fastest rise in these hyper specialist roles?
So in generative AI, a lot of efficiency related projects reside in healthcare and finance, where we are seeing a lot of generative AI adoption very, very easily picking up compared to against utilities, for example, where the risk of generative AI hallucinating is very high. Because think about utilities like railways and roadways. If we actually implement the generative AI in specific, right, without the right level of governance, it becomes very risky. So generative AI has capability across a lot of verticals, but it's just that in healthcare and finance specifically, there is a lot of nice efficiency related projects. You can think about diagnostic AI from low res images in India, which will help tier 2 and tier 3 cities where healthcare infrastructure is not that developed. And if we can also think of AI driven telemedicine, where where doctors are not available in a lot of these places. In finance, for example, credit scoring for non-formal economy workers is a very nice use case because a lot of the workforce in India is not formal. That is, they don't get regular payslips which are flowing through a particular system which is easily traceable. So it's a lot of the non-formal economy workers, enabling them would be a good area to start. And again, apart from reducing cost and increasing access for the entire population of India, there are also verticals in India where India will lead the innovation that will have impact globally. If you think about manufacturing, a lot of manufacturing is now getting shifted to India, where chips, steel, etc., are getting manufactured. And this will actually also place India in a global spotlight. By extension, if you think about supply chain and logistics, that's also where India will eventually shine.
Yeah, I agree to this. And according to Mustafa, the CEO of Microsoft AI, also probably will agree to it because he recently quoted roughly 40% of all Copilot queries each week are health related, right? So Microsoft has now gone ahead and grounded these response in trusted clinical sources such as Harvard Medical Data Series and NHS to improve the accuracy and trust. So we can already see globally and more specifically India, it's so relevant. So moving to the next question, in the India conclave, it was also discussed the structural gap in how India teaches technology with issues such as slow curriculum updates and weak industry integration. What should India's education system do right now to prepare students for the millions of these new AI era jobs we can create?
So AI is very unique in terms of the pace at which it is moving. So unlike sciences and technologies that have been developed in the past, which did see development, but at a slightly slower pace. But AI, if you even pick generative AI, it took a very large boom in 2022 with ChatGPT coming. 2023 was all about RAG applications. 2024 was all about agentic applications. And 2025 is all about MCP and more advanced agentic applications. So the entire technology stack, the entire application stack is rapidly changing. And a lot of the new jobs are getting created in this rapidly scaling and developing area. So for traditional universities and institutes to actually keep up with this, specifically if we talk about the slow curriculum cycles, there should be embedding of industry practitioners. So hybrid industry practitioners who also have done certain research work previously, who can actually be very good teachers and bring a lot of industry insights in the classroom. So using this model, the curriculum gap and slow curriculum issue which can easily be solved. As students, it's always important to learn the first principles, but having some of these industry insights is just a cherry on the top, which will help improve the learning experience and also help them land AI era jobs. The second thing is on the university side, having industry linkages is very important, like by via internships or even practicum programs which are already there. It becomes slightly difficult to get every student placed at a particular firm. So what can be done is there are a lot of thought leaders in AI in different domains which are active on social media, which are available in the network that universities have access to. So even unofficially, the introduction should be there for students to get linked to some of these thought leaders, that they can just, do unofficially a lot of projects and hands-on work which will help them down the line. So this is something that universities should put a focus on. If they're not able to get something officially, at least every student should have some exposure or the other which will help them down the line. And as students, obviously, keep up to date with a lot of newsletters and a lot of the knowledge which is there out there. You can just do a simple Google search and you can read a lot of things. So it's very important to read and write on platforms like LinkedIn to stay up to date.
That makes sense. And I also would say that this hybrid model that you have proposed, right, could also help to bridge the research to product gap that we often see in Indian academia. So fantastic. The last question which I have, if someone has only 1 hour a day to invest in their future, what should they do with that 1 hour to stay relevant in this new AI world?
1 hour a day is pretty good, and the learner should just divide their time across a few things which are focused towards AI literacy in the very beginning. So, getting fluent in both a few fundamental AI concepts more practically and applying it to their own domain to grasp it intimately and comprehensively. And there are a lot of AI tools which are easily available out there. So, if you start using these tools, you start embedding AI in your workflows, and then you take a step back and understand how these tools are developed. How can you actually better, let's say, prompt engineer them and do more complex workflows via automation tools like N8N or Zapier? So you can do a lot of very nice things via these tools. And having some personal projects on the side is always a good thing to do, because it is not going anywhere. It's just there to become more nuanced and more advanced. So it's always a good idea to keep up with being a power user of AI, so to speak.
That's actually very actionable. But for someone just starting out, are there any specific tools or platforms you would recommend to build that kind of practical AI fluency?
So there is Gamma, which is very good for building presentations. You can just prompt engineer and you will have presentations. You have ChatGPT, which you can use for a lot of the sounding board approaches, where if you want to think about something, you can put that to ChatGPT, see what it spits out, and then just review it, judge it, and keep on iterating unless you get a good starting point. Because the final last mile always has to be at the human end. It cannot be at the AI generating the final output, but it can be a nice first step to take. And there are other tools like Lovable is there. There is N8N, which is a very powerful tool for workflow automation for building no code agents. So even without coding, you can actually build agents using N8N. And people have used it to do all kinds of things like, stock trading and so on, and made a lot of money as well.
That was a fantastic list. I think we'll follow up on more maybe vibe coding list from you, Anand. Thank you for today. And again, let's stay in touch. Right.
Thank you for hosting me, Richa.